Hi, this is Emily from ReConnected Life, because rape isn't the end of our story and we do deserve to live a full and reconnected life again. Today, I'm going to talk to you about my coaching program and what makes it different and why I've started it. A number of people have been asking me, what is it that you're doing? And so then I start explaining and they go, oh my God, wow, that's actually bigger, different than I expected. I thought you were just doing coaching. And it is coaching, but it's coaching with a difference. So the thing is that the reason I decided to do this is not just because when I learned how to be a coach and I learned NLP skills that I started to get better for myself as well. And it's not just because I figured that I could and then I should. It's actually because the existing methods, techniques, approaches that we have, they're not good enough for us. They do their best. I'm certainly not dissing any of the amazing, wonderful people who work for rape crisis organisations or survivors trust organisations, etc. Those organisations are absolutely needed, they're absolutely vital. But it's so heartbreaking that those organisations are having to compete against each other for funding, and that funding is incredibly precarious, and when one wins, another loses. That's not good enough for me, that our access to recovery is subject to the whim of someone deciding whether or not to give funding to the services that we need. And so that's partly why I wanted to create a business that actually meant that we could have access to help without needing to worry about whether or not funding was going to come around the corner. Of course, being self-employed, there's, risks to that as well. Different story. But yeah, so the services which currently give us help, they are being cut, they're under pressure. So we need to find a new way of finding help, or alternative ways of finding help. We can't put all our eggs in one basket, as it were, because that basket is becoming smaller and smaller and the number of eggs in it reduced and reduced. Also, because of those cuts, I was horrified to read there's over 10,000 people who have been on waiting lists for longer than a year, waiting lists to help with sexual assault and abuse cases. Over a year waiting lists. I'm so relieved and grateful that wasn't me, but I know it's many of you. And in that year, what is happening? We are trying to find our own ways. We are feeling stuck. We are feeling like there's no way out. And that's just not good enough for me either. And so I wanted to create an approach that meant that anybody could have access to help. And that's what the online program is going to be. It's going to be at a very affordable price with payment plans. As I start to actually, get an income, there'll be opportunities for pro bono as well, so that if people absolutely can't afford, the RRP, that there's still a way, and there's going to be so much free stuff that I'm developing that's going to be helpful as well, because I want us to all be able to get access to the help that we need when we need it. It's not good enough for me to think that there are people on waiting lists for over a year. And I know that's not good enough for anybody, except perhaps those bureaucrats deciding to withhold their funding, and saying that we can't afford these things in times of austerity. And so women's health goes to the firing wall first. Sorry, that's a personal belief. So yeah, existing stuff not going so well. But also, actually, when we do get access to those services, either through a specialised support organisation or even through the NHS, we've gone through the waiting list, we've got access to services. That's not necessarily the help we need. We might be prescribed CBT, but actually need something entirely different. I know that my psychiatrist, when I did see her 6 years after the event, said that actually a lot of what she had to do was unwire all the coping mechanisms that I had been putting in place, all the stories I'd been telling myself that had got me through to there. She had to unwire a lot of that so that we could actually do the wiring properly this time. And so very often the help we get isn't the right help for us. So why coaching, and why can this program help in ways that therapy and counselling are maybe more limited? Well, first of all, therapy and counselling really just focuses on helping us with the symptoms, helping us cope, helping us either cure those symptoms the way my psychiatrist did eventually, or helping us cope in the way that the one-to-one counselling and group therapy that I did too. And that's great because it helps us to feel like we could start to get our lives back, to not be living with fear of panic attacks is, a pretty big win, actually, isn't it? Being able to sleep through the night, that's a pretty big win. But it's not everything that we need. We need to figure out ourselves, and I did the sort of the vlog on after the other week, but you might want to take a look at that as well. But we need to figure out ourselves. We need to kind of put ourselves back together. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. We can put ourselves back together. We can create and redefine who we want to be and reclaim ourselves in this aftermath. But we also need to understand the impact that the disconnection between mind and body has had, and the impact that it's had on our body as well, because we're so focused on fixing our brain and making sure that our brain is under control and not flashing back and not triggering and all of that. We're not really paying attention to the impact that stress is putting on our body and on our hormones. And to actually understand and have knowledge about all the things that we can personally be doing, the different choices that we can be making in terms of how we look after ourselves and nurture ourselves and reconnect to ourselves. That's really, really required as well. And conventional counselling, therapy, psychiatric help, it doesn't tend to do that. It doesn't tend to treat us as a whole human being. It focuses on the part of us which they are trying to work on. And coaching by itself doesn't do that either. Coaching by itself really just looks at, so who do you want to be in this world? So what's really different about my approach is it's taking how we can take control of our own recovery, how we can build with knowledge and with consistency the resilience in our core, so that we don't have so many panic attacks, so that we do learn how to sleep through the night, so that we can feel like we are rescuing ourselves. It then does the traditional life coaching of actually looking at who we want to be, why we want to be that, how to put ourselves back together and to be everything that we want to be in this world and create our plan and feel empowered to achieve that. And it also looks at that mind-body connection and how we reconnect, how we replenish, how we nurture ourselves and learn to love our whole self, not a broken self, and not thinking of ourselves as broken, but mended or mending, and recovering and in recovery. I've done a lot of research and I can't actually find anyone who has got this whole self approach to recovery after rape or other trauma at all, anywhere in the world. So I think that makes this special, actually. I'm really excited for when the program does launch, probably in spring next year. And it will be available to everybody to do in the comfort of their own home, to be in privacy, to feel empowered, to do it at their own pace, to get better and to take control of getting better for ourselves. And the one-to-one stuff is just so exciting because, oh my God, I just love working one-to-one with people. But it means that we go at your pace as a coach. We go at your pace. We go, you might be absolutely fine with all the rescue and recovery side of things, but it's more that you want to figure out who you are, or understand more about how you can reconnect to your body. Or it might be that it's actually still really new for you, and figuring out who you want to be after is, further down the line. And actually what would be really powerful for you would be to know the different kinds of techniques that you can start to practice, which will build that resilience for you. So when it comes to coaching one-to-one, there's the whole program, but actually the bits that we focus on with you are what you need in the time and pace that you need them. As a coach, I'm just merely your guide. I help you make the choices that you want to make. I help you make the changes that are right for you, that you want to make. It's really, for me, it's such a beautiful and privileged experience to help in that way. It gives me so much instant pleasure to be able to see that transformation in people. So that's a little bit, I guess, about the program and why it's different. I really think that when it comes to recovery, knowledge is really power. And at the moment, it's really hard to sometimes get hold of some of that knowledge. So that's what makes this so unique, is that it's pulling all the different aspects into one place. And just a little note on neuro-linguistic programming, which is one of the tools, just one of the sort of the tool set that I use in coaching. But what that means is essentially programming the way we speak to ourselves in our brain, which of course is what we absolutely need in terms of that rewiring of our brain after trauma, and to try to get those connections in the brain that have been ruptured to talk to each other again, which is one of the reasons why NLP is just an absolutely beautiful tool for this work. What NLP is essentially is just modelling of best practice in all sorts of fields. And when I was under the care of my psychiatrist, she used a whole load of techniques with me that when I then became, started training in NLP, I was like, oh my God, but that's kind of what my psychiatrist did. She's a psychiatrist. She's like, the top of her game. She's a really, brilliant psychiatrist, not just any psychiatrist. She's fantastic. And I'm recognizing the stuff that she used with the stuff I'm learning. And that's simply because NLP models the best of the best. And so some of the techniques that as a master practitioner I have now learned how to do, I know have their roots in psychiatric help. And that gives me a great deal of confidence in why it is and how it is that they are having the major impacts that they are having. And the other thing that I really kind of want to make clear about what's the difference between coaching and counselling is coaching is very, very much looking at how we can make changes in the present that will help our futures. Counselling very much looks at why things happened in the past that are having impact on our present. So Counselling kind of helps us make sense of why we're in pain, but coaching really empowers us to make different choices to end that pain. I think both are really, really powerful, and there's a place for both in our recovery treatment. Personally, if you have access to counselling and therapy and you're at the beginning of your recovery path, that's probably what will work for you until you have got control over your symptoms. But if you don't have access to counselling or therapy, then coaching is a very, very good second best. And actually, through the resilience work at the beginning of the program, will give you a great deal that counselling might not even give you. If you've got to a point in life where you're thinking, yeah, okay, I'm mostly doing all right, but there's still a whole load of stuff that is troubling, then this is the program absolutely for you right now. In an ideal world, I would want everyone to have access to at least all the knowledge parts of this program. So I'm really working really hard on the online part of this to make that available as soon as possible, because knowledge is power. So yeah. I think I have mumbled a little bit. There's more in the blurb below. Any questions, any thoughts, please share them. And if you do want to arrange a time with me, then do just click the link to arrange a no obligation free call, free chat to talk about how this program can help you and what the next steps for you might be. I'll leave you with that. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Bye.